So it seems the debate and the controversy over Trump administration's travel restrictions are far from over. For more now, let's turn to Teresa Cardinal Brown in Washington. She is a director of immigration policy at the Bipartisan Policy Center and the former director of immigration and border policy at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the program, Teresa. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, of course, the big question is this travel ban 2.0 legal? And the last time you had the original travel ban, that was blocked by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and it concluded that, quote, the Trump administration has pointed to no evidence that any alien to any of the countries named in the order has perpetrated a terrorist attack in the United States. So, Teresa, has the White House provided any evidence that this ban, the people who are, I guess, from these 6 banned countries, pose any national security risk to the United States?
Well, certainly there's an attempt made in this executive order to justify a little bit more than the first executive order why these countries are being named. This executive order is probably about 4 times as long as the one that President Trump signed in January, and it definitely shows that a lot more lawyers looked at it, I think. There's a section that details exactly from the State Department country reports on terrorism what the terrorist threat from the 6 countries included in the travel restrictions are. There's also, as you mentioned in your earlier report, a section that describes potentially why refugees may be of concern. But whether or not that's enough to satisfy the court is unclear. The administration, of course, argues it's not up to the court to decide what's a threat. That's in the purview of the administration.
And there was that Department of Homeland Security report, I think it was, that recently showed that geography, country of origin, had virtually nothing to do with radicalization and risk to the United States. And in fact, most of those who do end up radicalized are radicalized inside the U.S. after being in the country for a while. So does that give opponents of this grounds to challenge further? I mean, do you think it's going to end up back in court? And would such a challenge have legs, in your view?
I think it will definitely end up back in court. Of course, lots of groups have already said that they are intending to sue again and that they don't see that this version addresses all of the issues that were raised in the first lawsuit. The several issues were raised were constitutional issues about whether or not it was improperly targeting Muslims, for example. The threat question is one about the prerogative of the president, and certainly the Immigration Act gives the president broad discretion to deny entry to categories of individuals based on the national interest. Of course, that authority is circumscribed by what's in the Constitution, and that's at the heart of the challenge that's been raised by the opponents of this in court. And I think some of this will continue. Almost certainly it will be appealed. There's 10 days before this new order goes into effect. We'll see how many cases get filed in those 10 days.
What do you think about how differently this travel ban has been rolled out? And there's also this 10-day grace period apparently giving, airports and customs borders, agents to kind of get accustomed to these new rules.
Well, that's definitely one of the most striking things about how this was done compared to the earlier one. Not only was there not the pomp and circumstance over the signing of the order itself, but there's been a lot more advance notice to members of Congress, to the press. There were fact sheets and Q&As put out by the department before the order was even issued. We actually got the text of the order within minutes of it being signed. The previous order, we had to wait hours to see the text. So clearly there was a lot more done in the process of rolling this out. I think that definitely shows that there was a lot more involvement by the agencies in how this was going to be put forward.
All right, Teresa Cardinal Brown, we're going to have to leave it there. We appreciate your perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me again.
CNN. Washington state will ask a federal judge Thursday to block President Donald Trump's new travel ban, joining Hawaii as the second state to challenge the executive order. Federal judge to hear first lawsuit against new travel ban. Bob Ferguson, Washington state's attorney general, said that despite the significant changes to the president's previous executive order, the new travel ban still suffers from legal flaws. The revised executive order does narrow its impact, but there is still harm, Ferguson said in a news conference on Thursday. This is effectively a Muslim ban. Attorneys general for Massachusetts, New York and Oregon confirmed they are planning to join the lawsuit. Minnesota is already part of the challenge to Trump's actions. U.S. District Court Judge James Robart issued a nationwide temporary restraining order blocking implementation of the original travel ban on February 3. Read more. Trump signed a new executive order Monday banning foreign nationals from 6 Muslim-majority countries from entering the U.S. for 90 days and banning all refugees for 120 days, but excluded green card holders and those with existing valid visas from the order. The original ban included Iraq, but the new order does not. Ferguson said that change doesn't pass muster. Rather than a 7-nation ban, it says only now a 6-nation ban. He said, the language is virtually identical. The legal arguments against the original order still hold. Ferguson believes there are still constitutional problems with core provisions of the new executive order. Ferguson said, it cannot be a game of whack-a-mole. According to Ferguson, Robart's current temporary restraining order halting the original travel ban should block implementation of the new executive order as well. This is not a new lawsuit. We're saying that underlying injunction is still under effect on core provisions of the executive order. Ferguson said, the state will continue to make the case the ban discriminates against Muslims based off of Trump's statements during the campaign and Rudy Giuliani comments about a legal Muslim ban. He added, the state of Hawaii this week also challenged Trump's new travel ban. A federal judge agreed to hear arguments on Wednesday, one day before it is slated to go into effect on March 16. James Robart. 5 things to know about judge who blocked travel ban. White House spokesman Sean Spicer said Thursday the executive order was consistent with federal law. We are going to go forward on this, Spicer said. We feel very confident with how that was crafted and the input that was given. The Justice Department filed a notice with Robart on Monday, saying the administration believes the new executive order falls outside of the scope of Robart's earlier ruling that blocked the original ban. The administration cited the substantial changes to the executive order, arguing that it clarifies and narrows the scope of executive action regarding immigration, extinguishes the need for emergent consideration, and eliminates the potential constitutional concerns identified by the Ninth Circuit. Announcing the new executive order Monday, U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions argued that the ban was necessary because we cannot compromise our nation's security by allowing visitors entry when their own governments are unable or unwilling to provide the information we need to vet them responsibly, or when those governments actively support terrorism. This story has been updated.